Guys, welcome to Anywhere But Here, the best of the best. I am your host, Fly Girl TW, and guys, this series is all about me providing you with what is considered to be the best of the best in the travel industry for lots of different topics, including accommodations, luggage, destinations, and maybe other travel gear. This week, however, my focus is all about solo travel. So I want to eliminate one of the myths. You do not have to be a single person to travel solo. It is not a single person's activity. It is simply an activity that you decide that you want to experience with no one other than you. And just because you're married doesn't mean that you don't have that understanding with your spouse, that you can't just take off and go somewhere on your lonesome, especially if it is something that will benefit the family or benefit the relationship when you come back. So, some other reasons why people travel solo is, think about it. If you're traveling solo and you're interesting and awesome, how many other individuals are traveling solo who meet that same criteria? Now, guys, don't forget that, as always, I want you to check your resources when traveling solo. It is imperative. It is the top priority to make sure that whatever your choice is, that you confirm that the political environment is safe, that the crime rate is something that you feel comfortable in, that you know how to protect yourself, whether the country is classified as safe or not, and that you're going at a time that will allow you to meet your accomplished goal. What I've done was I've chosen 6 international destinations, matching 6 national destinations, but I'm too hyped about the international. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my first recommendation for traveling solo, and it's one of my all-time favorite places to go that I haven't experienced yet. And that is Dublin, Ireland. I chose Dublin. And that's because people are extremely friendly and understand English. So if that's your first language, so you'll be able to find someone that you can communicate with and maybe get directions or build up a rapport or conversation with them. Dublin has a really great transportation system. It also has a lot of festivals and activities and events. The shopping is great. So Dublin's my first recommendation for the best of the best when traveling solo. My second recommendation is quite further away from Dublin, and that is Hong Kong. Why Hong Kong? Well, and financial districts are much like New York and Shanghai with that urban feel. So you'll have a really great mixture of people walking around in suits and briefcases, and people walking around with purple hair and tutus, and it's just really that one of the best things you can do in Hong Kong or any of the countries that I share with you is to simply sit on a bench and watch. It's amazing what you can see and how people interact with one another. Another great thing that you may want to do when traveling to Hong Kong is to go to one of the street bazaars. You'll find a great mix of shopping and also food where you can pick up and eat and then take to the park bench and sit and watch your people. But Hong Kong is extremely safe. Does take forever and a day to get there, but it's extremely safe, and I guarantee that when you come home, you have a different perspective of Hong Kong than you would when you went over. Now, one of the things that I really want to focus on when going to another country, especially one that does not have English as the primary language, and that is to, at the very least, guys, learn the language. So, with Hong Kong, you certainly want to go over armed with as much information as you can. And it's difficult to do that if you can't communicate with the people who reside there. So it's a difficult language to learn. So if you're planning to go, start practicing now. At least those courtesy phrases. Thank you, please, where is. We're leaving Hong Kong now, so I want you to pack your bags and get ready because we are headed to Prague, Czech. In 1989, Prague actually emerged from communism, smaller scale of Paris. So it's very beautiful, has a lot of architecture, less expensive than Paris, which is a plus, right? And it's easier to navigate. One of the great things about Prague is that the city is small enough so that you can schedule some day trips to other places in the Czech if you have time to do so. So do as much as you can as you want in the city of Prague, but just know that you're not limited to that city, even though you could spend weeks and weeks in the city alone to kind of soak up the culture. Option to do some day trips. Guys, we are now in Copenhagen, Denmark, which is the capital of Denmark and a really, really wonderful city. You know, there are so many options. All these travel resources have their own picks of which countries and cities are the best of the best for them. So I had a lot of different options, and I just chose the ones that I thought might be, for some of us, off the beaten path. You know, when we think about going out of the country, a lot of us think, oh, I want to go to the Caribbean, or I want to go to Canada, or I want to go to places that sound familiar and where you feel more comfortable. And as we've talked before, traveling is all about getting out of your comfort zone and experiencing new things and different people and expanding your perspective. So my choices will allow you to still bring home some wonderful vacation memories. So we are now in Copenhagen, which is a city that has fantastic transportation system. You can get the Copenhagen card. You can load it and reload it as much as you want. The card allows you free access to a lot of the different museums and other events and activities. You can walk around Copenhagen because it is a very walk-friendly city. You don't need... the hotels, I will tell you, are very simplistic from a day. So don't be off-put when you go to Copenhagen. Now in Vancouver, Canada. Why did I choose Vancouver? Well, depending on what part of the United States you live in, Vancouver is a fairly easy destination for you to get to. And the rates are reasonable. Hotel rates are really at a good... The events and activities and museums and things like that are free or for less cost than in other places. But there's Vancouver's own version of Central Park. There's Stanley Park. There's a conservatory. Tons of places for you to go for little or no dough. But there's also obviously some places that you may want to see that have costs associated with it. But for solo travel, even if it's last minute solo travel, Vancouver's a really wonderful option. I'm going to move on to my final pick for the best of the best in solo travel, and that is Madrid. Madrid is a wonderful country for you to travel to solo. And maybe if you take a look back at some of the videos that I've done before, you'll see a picture behind me. And that picture is a castle called Alcazar Castle, and it is located in Madrid, Spain. So I love castles. I think, you know, Spain has never been at the top of my list to travel to until now. But one of the reasons why it's really great for solo travel is just what I mentioned. It is beautiful. It will take you back to the 15th, 16th century. It has cobblestone streets, has lots of history, it has very friendly people. The men are extremely friendly. But everywhere that you go is a photo op. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's one of the reasons why I love to travel, because it's hard to describe some of the experiences that you have. And photography helps you do that. And videos now help you do that. So, Madrid. So, I'm exhausted. I don't know about you. We have just been across the world from an international perspective. And we visited, very briefly albeit, 6 different destinations that are wonderful for you to pack up your bags, just your bags, and go off somewhere to explore all by your lonesome. And by the way, that does not mean that you're going to be lonely. It just means you're a solo traveler. Here's where we've gone, guys. We have gone to Dublin, Ireland, Prague, Czech Republic, Vancouver, Canada. We've gone to Madrid, Spain, and Copenhagen, Denmark. How fantastic. To part 2, where I'll be covering 6 destinations in the United States that you can travel solo while feeling safe. So what I've decided was the first destination that I want to share with you that's really the best of the best when traveling solo is Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is the capital of the state of Tennessee. It's the home of Vanderbilt University. It is deep in the history of country music. many famous country musicians or want-to-bes go to Nashville to hopefully get discovered, and many of them have actors and or musicians who still have residence in Nashville. So one of the really great tours that you may want to. What about visiting the Grand Ole Opry or the Johnny Cash Museum, or just eating some good old barbecue? You cannot beat going to Nashville, Tennessee if you're traveling solo. No, this is whether you're male or female. It's just a good old time. And you'll probably meet some very friendly people as well. So a few years ago, I planned a mother-daughter trip for me and my mom, and we went to Washington, D.C. It was the first time that either one of us had been there, but it had been on our bucket list for many years. I'm not ashamed to tell you that it was one of the best vacations that we've ever had, not just as a mother-daughter, but for me, I look, but I didn't anticipate crying. I don't even know, I hadn't planned on it, but when I got there and I was able to see all of the structures, all of the architecture, and you're standing, amongst all of these massive buildings, you can't help but think about the fact that we live in a country that has had quite a bit of turmoil. Think about, hundreds of years ago. But all of this was built on the backs of enslaved people. And that just was really emotional for me. In addition to being completely overwhelmed by the magnitude of these buildings and all the people there, and I couldn't run from one museum to another quick enough. My mom's like, "You go ahead. I'll just hang out here." And I did. I just went, and I'm telling you, it's one of the places that I had the most fun because I was with her, but it also was one of the places that touched me deep in my soul. So I'm recommending that you go to Washington, D.C. It's a great place for you to travel solo because you're not on anyone else's time. You can explore as much as you want. There's so much hustle and bustle. The train system is fantastic, clean, on time. The people don't bother you. They're going to work or they're going about their busy. But I highly recommend that you go when traveling solo. It is definitely back on my list because I didn't even scratch the surface of the things that I want to see. Washington, D.C. Check it out. It is something about just listening to nature and watching all of these, mountains and trees and natural history that a man didn't create. Well, he did, right? He did. But just to sit there, no makeup, no fancy smancy, nothing but you and nature. And Sedona, Arizona is my recommendation, is my next recommendation for you traveling solo. For the reasons that you guys is Santa Fe, New Mexico. Guys, much like Sedona, Santa Fe, New Mexico is really rich in art. It's also very rich in culture, and you'll see some of that culture be exposed through art and through. People of Santa Fe are warm and friendly and very helpful. No matter what time of year you go, you'll be able to find really great accommodations. Keep in mind where you stay. Align that to the type of activities that you want to see. They have transportation, but it's not as great as some of the other places that I mentioned. So just take. There are 31 local margaritas. If you have no other reason to travel solo to Santa Fe, New Mexico, go for the margarita. But some of the other things that you may enjoy about Santa Fe, horseback riding and just really long walks with you and nobody else. So, the next place that I want you to pack your bags for is the most expensive place from a national perspective, and that is Oahu, Hawaii. It may sound a little selfish, but this is the place you go when you want to travel solo. You know why? It is hella expensive. Yeah, folks. It really is. It's so expensive that traveling solo makes the most sense. it opens up more options for you when finding accommodations. You also only have to worry about you and transportation, you and food, because food is extremely high as well. Breathing is high, maybe. But from everything from water to activities, tours, everything is expensive. So if you have the option to experience Hawaii, in this case Oahu, independently, hang out at the beach, watch, get yourself laid, and not in the way that you mean. Talk to the locals, go on long walks, cycle the island, buy a bikini, purchase lots of souvenirs, go to a roast, so many different things that you can do. And so if you can go independently. My last place that I'm going to take you for solo travel, guys, is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Anybody ever watch Rocky? Well, I don't want you to get stuck on Rocky, because Philadelphia is one of the cities in the country of the United States that has 1,000,001 things to do that have absolutely nothing to do with the Rocky series. Just things that you can enjoy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania include the Liberty Bell, the steps on the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which some people call the Rocky Steps, but it was already a landmark prior to the Rocky series. There's the Philly cheesesteak. I mean, who doesn't want a great Philly cheese? There's Independence Hall, there's the Franklin Institute. And I can't forget the Reading Terminal Market. Now, don't get confused by the name. I mean, of course, sure, you can go and you can sit and you can read your magazine and your paper, but let's really talk about what the purpose of the market is. So for a girl who loves to eat, this is the place to go. To sit and eat and read your paper, read your magazine, people watch, those free activities. But when you go to Philly, you will find some of the warmest, funniest, raunchiest people on this side of the United States, but they're also the realest, the coolest, and they enjoy gabbing it up over a good Philly cheesesteak. So, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is my last pick for the best of the best for traveling solo, internationally and nationally. I hope you enjoyed the list. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope you enjoy my quick but quirky wit. I am Fly Girl TW, and I will see you next time on the best of the best.